Stephen Curry is one of the greatest players in basketball history, known for revolutionizing the game with his unparalleled three-point shooting skills. Born on March 14, 1988, in Akron, Ohio, Curry is a point guard for the Golden State Warriors, where he has won 4 NBA championships and been named MVP twice, including the league's first unanimous MVP. With his precision, agility, and leadership, he has transformed basketball into a more dynamic and offensive sport, inspiring new generations of athletes. Beyond his impact on the court, Curry serves as a role model off it, engaged in social causes and promoting education for underprivileged children. His dedication and passion for the game have made him a global icon and a reference point in sports. On a fateful night, Jason and his son Marcus had no idea that their lives would change forever, putting them under the attention of Steph Curry in a way they could never have imagined. The diner where it all began was on a busy corner in Oakland, near San Francisco. It was a simple place, with walls covered in old signs and wooden tables that bore the marks of time. The smell of grilled burgers and fries lingered in the air, mixed with the sound of muffled conversations and the clinking of cups being placed on the counter. Jason liked to take Marcus there, especially after practice at the community court. It was a moment for the two to relax and talk away from the worries that life imposed on them. Marcus, 10, was a boy with bright eyes and a love for basketball that overflowed in every word. That night, while devouring a plate of fries, he told his father about practice. "Dad, today I made a shot from half court, just like Steph Curry." Jason laughed, proud. "Oh, really? So soon you'll be signed by the Warriors, right?" "Just wait, Dad. You'll see. I'll be better than him," Marcus replied, full of confidence. Jason knew his son's dream was big, but he also saw the glimmer of hope in the boy's eyes. He made sure to encourage Marcus in everything, even when life gave them reasons to doubt. It was what kept the two of them united: determination and the belief that hard work was always worth it. The lightness of the conversation between Jason and Marcus was abruptly interrupted by the shadow of a burly staff member who approached with heavy steps and a tense expression on his face. He stopped next to their table and looked at both of them with barely concealed disdain. "You can't stay here," he announced, his voice dry and laden with authority. Jason blinked, surprised. "Excuse me, what did you say? Did we do something wrong?" "I don't need to explain. Just grab your things and leave," the man replied, crossing his arms. His posture was defiant, as if he were already prepared for a confrontation. Jason felt a knot form in his throat. He looked at Marcus, who was now staring at his plate of fries, his hands tense in his lap. Trying to remain calm, Jason turned back to the staff member. "Look, we paid for our food. We're not bothering anyone. I don't think this is fair." The man huffed, impatient. "I'm not going to argue with you. It's a manager's order. Please leave." Marcus gently tugged at his father's shirt sleeve, trying to intervene. "Dad, it's okay. We can go." His voice was low, but it couldn't hide the mix of sadness and embarrassment. He tried to be strong, but his eyes were already shining with held-back tears. Jason didn't move immediately. He looked around, searching for some explanation in the faces of the other customers. Some watched the scene with curiosity, but most avoided eye contact, as if they wanted to distance themselves from the discomfort. "This doesn't make sense," Jason insisted, trying to maintain his dignity. "My son and I are just having lunch. We didn't do anything to deserve this kind of treatment." "I already asked." "Don't make me call the police," the staff member retorted, his tone even harsher. With a heavy heart, Jason realized that insisting could make things worse. He took Marcus's hand and declared, "Let's go, son. This isn't worth our peace." As they walked out, Jason felt the eyes of others fixated on his back, like a crushing weight. He held Marcus's hand tightly, trying to convey a reassurance he didn't feel. Marcus, in turn, remained silent, but Jason could sense his son's effort to hold back tears. Outside, Jason took a deep breath, battling against the indignation that threatened to overflow. "I'm sorry, son. This shouldn't have happened," he said, his voice cracking. Marcus simply nodded, looking at his shoes, as a tear silently rolled down his cheek. The sound of the glass door closing behind Jason and Marcus still echoed in the air when a tall man with firm steps entered the diner. Steph Curry, wearing a fitted black cap and sunglasses, appeared at first glance to be just another regular customer. However, there was something in his posture that immediately commanded attention. He carried a serene yet undeniably imposing presence, as if the atmosphere had shifted simply with his arrival. Curry quickly scanned the room, assessing the space. His gaze soon landed on the burly staff member and the manager, who were talking near the counter, looking visibly tense. There was a weight in the air, a charged energy that indicated something had just occurred. Without hesitation, Curry approached them. "Excuse me," he said, his voice firm yet polite. "It seems something happened here. Could you explain what's going on?" The manager, a middle-aged man with a suspicious expression, turned to face him. At first, he didn't seem to recognize him. "There's nothing wrong, sir. Everything is under control." Curry raised an eyebrow. "Under control? Because from what I saw, you just asked a father and his son to leave." "I can know the reason?" At this point, some customers began to murmur. "Is it him? Is it Steph Curry?" whispered a woman, discreetly pointing at him. Others looked on with growing curiosity, while some remained silent, visibly uncomfortable with the intervention. The manager cleared his throat, clearly hesitant. "Sir, we have rules here, and, well, they didn't fit in." "Didn't fit in?" Curry repeated, his voice becoming a bit firmer. "Are you saying you kicked out a father and his son without a valid reason?" The burly employee, who had been silent until then, tried to intervene. "Look, they're gone. There's no need to prolong this." But Curry didn't let himself be intimidated. "Prolong this? We're talking about basic respect. Do you think you can treat people this way and just move on?" As Curry spoke, some people in the diner showed support. "He's right," said an older man sitting near the window. Others, however, remained skeptical, as if they wanted to avoid getting involved. The manager started to stammer a response, but before he could finish, Curry stepped forward. "You didn't just disrespect that man and his son. You disrespected everyone here. Dignity is not optional." The silence that followed was absolute. Curry's words cut through the atmosphere like a sharp blade, leaving everyone waiting for what would come next. Steph Curry, standing firm with a determined look, showed no signs of backing down. He felt the weight of that injustice, something he knew well, and that needed to be addressed. All attention in the diner was on him, and the manager began to realize that his attempt to ignore the issue would not succeed. "Mr. Curry," the manager began, clearly now nervous about the situation, "I apologize if this caused any misunderstanding. We just follow the house rules." Curry leaned slightly forward, his words chosen with precision. "Misunderstanding? Didn't seem like a misunderstanding to me. It seems you decided that man and his son didn't deserve to be here. I'm curious to know why." The manager hesitated, looking around as if seeking support, but none of his staff spoke up. "Well, it's just that certain situations need to be controlled before they cause problems," he said, trying to maintain his composure. Curry crossed his arms. "Problems? A father and son having lunch cause problems? Tell me, what exactly did they do to justify this?" The manager opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. The tension in the room was palpable. More customers began to chime in, with some voices murmuring support. "He's right," someone said from the back. A woman near the counter shook her head, silently disapproving of the manager's behavior. Jason, who was still outside with Marcus, had effects to observe the scene. He didn't know what to expect seeing such a famous figure intercede for them, But he felt something new, a spark of hope. He held Marcus's hand and gently pulled him aside, moving closer to the door. "Let's see what's going on," he suggested to his son. Meanwhile, Curry continued. "I'm a father too," he said, his voice taking on a more personal tone. "And I know how important it is for our children to see the world as a place where they are valued. But what you did was the opposite. You showed a boy that he doesn't belong here. That's something I won't ignore." The words echoed through the diner. Jason, standing at the entrance with Marcus, absorbed every one of them. He felt a lump in his throat. I never imagined someone like Curry would care about what happened. He looked at his son and saw that for the first time since the incident, Marcus smiled slightly, albeit hesitantly. The manager began to stammer again, clearly cornered. I'm sorry. It was a mistake. We shouldn't have acted that way." "Shouldn't have," Curry replied, his voice now carrying unquestionable authority. "But empty apologies don't fix the damage. I want to ensure this place treats everyone with respect, no matter who they are." Jason stepped inside, hesitantly. "Thank you," he said, his voice low but filled with emotion. He was still processing what was happening, but Curry's words ignited something within him, a reminder that dignity cannot be negotiated. The atmosphere in the diner shifted completely. Customers looked at Jason and Marcus with empathy, some even nodding in support. Steph Curry, still looking at the manager, added, "You have a chance to make this right. I hope you take it." The manager, now completely defeated, nodded in agreement. Jason felt indignation give way to a renewed sense of strength. He opened his shoulder to Marcus. "Did you see that, son? There will always be good people who believe this isn't right." Marcus nodded, his eyes shining. In that moment, he saw not only his father as an example of resilience, but also Curry as an advocate for justice, someone who used his voice to fight for others. On the way home, Jason and Marcus walked side by side. The initial silence between them was comfortable, but charged with difficult emotions to express. Jason knew his son was still processing everything that had happened, and he himself was struggling to find the right words. Finally, he decided to break the silence. "Son," Jason began, his voice low but firm, "I'm sorry for what happened today. No one should treat you that way." Marcus looked at his father, his eyes still shining with a mix of sadness and confusion. "I don't understand, Dad. We didn't do anything wrong. Why did they kick us out?" Jason stopped and turned to look at his son. The quiet street was bathed in the golden light of late afternoon, creating an almost magical atmosphere. "Sometimes people judge without reason, Marcus. It's unfair and not easy to deal with, but what matters is how we respond. Today, you saw someone standing up for us, and that's something we should remember." Marcus nodded slowly. "Steph Curry is amazing. He didn't even know us, but he defended us." "Why?" Jason replied sincerely, feeling his heart tighten. "Because he understands, son. He knows that sometimes things are tough, and he knows it's important to fight for what's right, even when it's not easy." As they walked, Marcus seemed lighter, more hopeful. He looked at Jason and smiled for the first time since the incident. "Dad, do you think I can be like him one day?" Jason placed his hand on his son's shoulder. "I don't think so, Marcus. I know so. You just need to believe in yourself as much as I believe in you." That night, while Jason was washing the dinner dishes, hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marcus rushed into the kitchen, his eyes wide. "Dad, there's someone on the court. It's Steph Curry." Jason, incredulous, quickly dried his hands and followed his son. When they reached the community court, there he was, Steph Curry, dressed simply, holding a basketball. He smiled upon seeing Marcus and Jason. "Hi, Marcus," said Curry, tossing a ball to the boy. "I think you'd like to practice a bit." Marcus stood still for a moment, the ball steady in his hands. It was as if time had stopped. Then, His eyes filled with joy, and he looked at Jason as if asking for permission. "Go ahead, son," said Jason with a proud smile. Curry spent the next few hours teaching Marcus some basketball fundamentals: how to maintain balance while shooting, the importance of peripheral vision, and even how to handle emotional pressure. "The game is as much mental as it is physical," Curry explained. "If you believe you can, you're already on the right path." Between shots, Curry also shared life advice. "There will always be times when things seem impossible, Marcus. But remember, every challenge is a chance to grow. Don't give up. Never." While practicing, Marcus seemed like a new person. He missed some shots but didn't let it get him down. With each attempt, there was more determination, more focus. Jason, watching from a distance, felt a wave of pride and emotion. It was more than just a practice session. It was a moment that would change his son's life forever. In the end, Curry placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You have talent, kid, but talent only takes you so far. The rest is dedication. Keep practicing, and I promise that things will happen." Marcus, still in disbelief, shook Curry's hand firmly. "Thank you, Mr. Curry. I will never forget this." When Curry said goodbye, promising to come back soon, Jason looked at his son and saw something different in him. It wasn't just joy. It was confidence. It was the spark of a dream that had been reignited and now shone brighter than ever. In the weeks that followed, there were special nights on the court. Marcus dedicated himself to training with an unprecedented determination. Each morning began with fitness exercises, followed by intense shooting and dribbling sessions at the community court. Jason, always present, became his biggest supporter, timing the practices and correcting small details, even without being an expert. The bond between father and son only grew stronger. Steph Curry's advice echoed in Marcus's mind with every movement. He missed many baskets, but he learned that each mistake was an opportunity to improve. "Persistence is what separates the good from the great," he repeated to himself like a mantra. The practices weren't just about basketball. They were lessons in life. Marcus began to understand that resilience wasn't just a skill. It was a daily choice. As time passed, his progress became evident. He was invited to join the school basketball team, where he quickly became known for his work ethic and team spirit. Jason, watching his son's games, felt a mix of pride and hope. Watching Marcus shine on the court was like witnessing the birth of something greater, a dream being realized little by little. More than victories or statistics, the experience transformed Marcus into a more confident, empathetic, and determined young man. He knew that the incident at the diner could have knocked him down, but with the right support, it became the starting point for something extraordinary. The story of Marcus and Jason reminds us that adversities are inevitable, but not definitive. With persistence and support, we can turn moments of pain into opportunities for growth. And as Marcus learned, true victory begins when we decide never to give up.